The major theme of this book is on perception and experience. It explores how immaterial and material elements of architecture develop perception in people's minds. Architects are manipulators of perception. Though we may be commissioned, we conceptualize the idea into a building design, while manipulating materials to achieve the spatial aim. The relationship with users is crucial, as space only develops from being a void when there is one to perceive it.
Our question is, how can architects manipulate perception?
Hill begins his books with the theory on how the notion of home is not necessarily associated with a physical house. He raises issues on material and immaterial architecture, how they cannot be separated, the physical form and the mood, space that it creates. This theory is important because he uses the comparison house and home to explain it clearly, as home is an idea that we all share, therefore relatable. He portrays architecture as objects that tickle our visual senses, not functional. It is a tool, a device for interpretation to occur. He refers to how the notion of home and its association with family was born in the Netherlands. Home is where your family is. However, you could feel out of place in your own home too. The concept of home is different to individuals. For example, one might feel at home in someone's arms or in a family home because it feels safe, warm, sheltered, and familiar. This somehow sounds like describing a mother's womb. It is a place safe from the exterior world and is a controlled and protected space which may depend on variables. These differ from one to another also. This is due to perception and shows that everyone has different experiences. He begins his analogy on the notion of home in a chronological order, starting with the dwellings and how a beginning of architecture was about a home, a place where hunters went back to. He then gradually refers to the contemporary issues, such as how home can change, or you can have more than one home, such as for students. For example, we have a home in Oxford that we pay our own rents for and live independently. But me, for example, also have a home in London, where my family lives.
Using the term of house and home, Hill gave a user point of view on perceiving architecture based on daily personal experience. It also takes us through the journey of architectural transformation. In Hunting the Shadow, Hill analyzed architect as a profession and the creation of architecture. At the beginning, he stated that the profession of architect was often low, and only a new to higher status during the Renaissance period, where architect was no longer involved in manual labor or carpentry and masonry, but intellectual practice through the medium of drawing as a representation of ideas. This theory shows how during the Renaissance, the absence of relation between architecture and subject creates a more powerful statement through form. Based on the theories of Vasari and Leon Battista Alberti, he assumed the ambivalence of relation between architect and architecture, as painters and sculptors could also produce architectural works. Furthermore, using Plato's allegory of the cave, Hill questioned the creation and the truth of an idea or immaterial, which translated into object or material. This is important in the analysis of architecture to understand that immateriality and materiality can't be separated, and in between is the perception from the subject.
Presumptions are our expectations before architects manage to transform our perception. The index of materials are short passages where Hill changes our presumptions of the respective title material. The range of materials include the natural, man-made, and some materials with distinct immaterial qualities. Hill successfully dispels any presumptions readers might have conformed before reading his writing. He gives a foundation for our contemplation of the subject matters. Thus, by the end of the book, readers transcend mere first impressions of the way materials work together for spaces. Air's inclusion in the index reminds us that it is an active architectural material. It defines the sensual, spiritual, and the immaterial expanse. We are human beings with physical needs, such as thermal comfort, and Hill underlines architecture's intimate relationship with the user's bodily experience. This supports the space as the extension of the body statement in Hunting the Shadows. In Bamboo, Hill uses personal experience in Shanghai to recollect his acceptance of bamboo possibly used for skyscrapers. The perception of reality between a local and an unknowing foreigner differs due to respective cultural traditions. However, one might say that his acceptance of bamboo is due to his open-mindedness as a foreigner, expecting to conceive anything built as a reality. Simultaneously, it suggests how we tend to overlook the creative, immaterial value of materials we use, often out of technical necessity. The author analyzed the natural lighting in the Nordic Pavilion Venice Biennale 1962 to emphasize how immateriality can represent time and move architecture through time and space. He mentioned that the Nordic light creates an experience that only can be conceived through spatial immateriality, but this overpowers the artworks. The author seems to have forgotten, however, that the users are not limited to just the visitors, but also the artworks it houses.
In conclusion, we find that Hill has defined boundaries as well as leave freedom for readers to interpret the subject individually. This was successful as he has both big cohesive chapters and smaller ones. We get a feeling of Jonathan Hill's persuasiveness as an architectural historian and an educator who leaves space for subjectivity and for alternate realms of thought.